tonight on GamePlan. The Saints put together a double-digit win over their division foes in Week 1, but now they have to get it done in the desert as they face the Las Vegas Raiders.
First and goal, Jacob to the right side, inside the 5, to the end zone for the touchdown.
We'll explore the impact of Michael Thomas's high ankle sprain, preview the 7th meeting of Sean Payton versus John Gruden, and Chris Hagan eases your panic by explaining the level-headed moves to make in fantasy football. GamePlan starts right now.
From Fox 8 Sports, this is GamePlan, sponsored by your local Southern Quality Ford dealers and the Ford F-Series, celebrating 43 years of truck leadership.
It's an early season battle of unbeatens. The Saints head into Sin City for a Monday night showdown with the Las Vegas Raiders. Welcome to GamePlan. Juan Kincaid, Sean Fazan.
Las Vegas Raiders. Doesn't sound right. As the Saints head into Las Vegas, I'm reminded of the 90s hit movie Passenger 57 when Wesley Snipes said, always bet on black. Well, come Monday night, the good money should be on black and gold as they break in a brand new stadium.
My understanding is the stadium's fantastic. It'll be unusual that, the first game there will be without fans. We'll get adjusted like we did the other day. And I think, until you just asked that question, when the schedule came out, you thought, oh, there'll be a couple preseason games there. And then, we'll figure out what the crowd noise is like when we go there. It's going to be a primetime game. But now it's still, obviously, there's a newness to a new stadium. We'll get in town and have a chance to get out on the field for, a light stretch. The schedule will adjust for a Monday game and then, obviously, the schedule the following week for a short week game. So, but I hadn't given much thought to it.
Well, you can't guard Mike if he doesn't play.
This is true, and it appears a high ankle sprain will keep Thomas sidelined for a few weeks. So now it's up to everyone else to step up in his absence. Life without Michael Thomas. The Saints have never had to deal with it before until now, at least for a few weeks. In 4 seasons, he's only missed 1 game, his rookie season against Tampa Bay. His stat line is dominant. Last season, he had 145 receptions, an NFL record, plus 9 touchdowns.
Rolling to his right, throws, and it's caught, and guess who? Michael Thomas.
The question is, with him out for an undisclosed period of time, who will step up? Odds are it'll be a group effort. Tight end Jared Cook could emerge as Breeze's top target, given his mismatch advantage and chemistry with Breeze. This offseason, they signed Emmanuel Sanders to be an explosive number 2 receiver. All of a sudden, he could now be their top receiver target. Traquan Smith will now have a chance to show what he could do with more targets. And of course, there's Alvin Kamara, who can work downfield as good as any running back in the NFL. The bottom line, before Thomas arrived, this offense thrived off Breeze spreading the ball around. And it looks like they'll have to return to their roots, with 13 not available. Now, don't discount Taysom Hill's role expanding in the passing game as well. Bottom line, it'll be a team effort across the board, Juan.
But Taysom will be involved. We know about that. The goal for Week 1 for every NFL team was to get through it with a win. The Raiders accomplished that goal with a comeback against the Carolina Panthers. Now as they turn their attention to the Saints, head coach John Gruden is hoping for a lot of carryover from Week 1, saying his team will need to be even better with this Saints team coming to town.
I like the unselfishness of our offense. We were balanced yesterday. I think we threw it 30 times. We ran it 30 times. We had 9 different receivers, so not anybody's going to catch 16 passes in the way we distribute the ball. But I thought overall is a good start, and this will be even a bigger test this week.
The one thing the Raiders took from that win against the Panthers that they can apply on Monday is that offensive balance is the recipe for success.
Always is in the NFL. Still to come on GamePlan, we head to the film room to discuss how a former Raider turned current Saint has become a reliable target for Drew Brees and the Saints offense. And you can have Saints Talk on demand with the Fox 8 Overtime podcast. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. You can find our podcast on fox8live.com,
Say it.
the Final Play app,
Tell it.
and wherever you listen to your podcast.
And you know that.
You're watching GamePlan, sponsored by your local Southern Quality Ford dealers and the Ford F-Series, celebrating 43 years of truck leadership.
Punter Thomas Morstead is this week's NFC Special Teams Player of the Week. He's special. With the performance he turned in against the Bucs on Sunday, 5 of his punts landed inside the 15-yard line. The only punt that was returned for no yards. This is the 5th time that Morstead's won this honor, most for a Saint ever. Slow starts for the Saints offense are not uncommon early in the season.
Sometimes all it takes, though, is one play to get things going. And for the Saints, that play came on a Drew Brees connection to Jared Cook. Take a look in this week's film study.
Fazan's Film Breakdown is brought to you by GMC. See your local GMC dealer.
It's 3rd and 8 for the Saints, and they call a smash. The smash concept is a simple high-low combination against zone coverage, where the inside receiver runs a corner or 7 route, while the outside receiver runs a short hitch or an in, forcing a 2-on-1 for the sideline defender. The quarterback then reads that defender and makes his decision. The Saints disguise it well by formation. Most smashes are run out of a 2-by-2 set, but the Saints do it in a 3-by-1 look. Deontay Harris is on the outside as the number 1 receiver. Traquan Smith is the number 2 receiver, and Jared Cook is the number 3 receiver. Harris will run a loosey route or a slant stop, then cut back to the outside. Smith will run a go. Cook will run a corner and angle right behind Smith. Brees reads it perfectly. And as soon as the outside defender, Jamel Dean, steps up to Harris, Brees goes over his head to Cook. Dean actually gets a finger on the pass, but Cook is able to reel it in for a critical 1st down.
So a bit of a twist on a pretty standard NFL passing concept. That was one of 4 catches for Cook on 3rd down. He's become a go-to guy for Brees on big downs.
And he will be even more important for Drew Brees and the Saints come Monday night. And the same could be said for running back Latavius Murray, who carried more of the load against the Bucs on Sunday. 15 carries, a team-high 48 yards, just to keep the Bucs defense honest. And it's a good bet that Sean Payton will be dialing Murray's number up even more often Monday night in Vegas. At least that's what Murray's come to expect.
So we wanted to, eat some time up with the clock and kind of got in a 4-minute mode. But I know I had 15. I know Alvin had 12. And then, he had some gashes in the past game too. So, this thing is going to be, it's going to fluctuate throughout the year. I learned that last year. And so, we're prepared to, whatever the game plan looks like or entails week in and week out, we accept that because we know everything is towards winning. And that's all it's about at this point.
So the more guys can step up in this offense going forward, the better. And Murray gives them a consistent threat between the tackles.
Just a solid football player, not a lot of wasted motion, just gets the job done. Still to come on Game Plan. Michael Thomas is out. We don't know for how long, but up next, Jeff Duncan joins us in studio to discuss the impact of his absence.
You're watching Game Plan, sponsored by your local Southern Quality Ford dealers and the Ford F-Series, celebrating 43 years of truck leadership.
I think when you look at this Raiders team, I think you see a talented team, and they're really trying to figure out who they are, what they are. You really like Carr as a quarterback. You like Jacobs as far as the running back is concerned. Offensive line-wise, they've been a physical group, so it's not going to be an easy task. Normally, you knew it would have been crazy and wild out there just because it's the home opener, but no fans are there, so, you just have to go and play.
Saints Hall of Famer Deuce McAllister back with us once again Sunday night on The Final Play to preview the matchup. More on Monday night. Fox 8 Live Tailgate moves to prime time, 6 p.m., and Deuce will join us then as well. All of it right here on Fox 8.
The Reporters Roundtable is sponsored by Law Tigers, Louisiana's motorcycle lawyers.
Right now, we've got Jeff Duncan from The Athletic and a Fox 8 contributor joining us. Jeff, no Michael Thomas. How big of a blow is this to the Saints offense?
Well, look, there's no doubt, Juan. I mean, he is the alpha male in that Saints receiver core. But the Saints have survived before with guys getting hurt. They survived last year without Drew Brees. They will have time to come up with an offensive game plan to compensate for this loss. It'll be receiving core by committee, much like we've seen the backfield by committee. But I think that they'll be just fine without it. And they can't afford to lose too many more guys. But as long as they can compensate with Alvin Kamara, Jared Cook, I mean, the list goes on and on. I think this offense will be able to churn out yards and points.
Yeah, well, as we mentioned earlier in the show, not having Michael Thomas is obviously going to impact this offense. He had 145 catches last year. He was such a matchup winner for Drew Brees. Dominates that first level of defense, in particular with those shorter routes where Brees is able to throw the ball to him. But I agree with Jeff. It's going to be a collective effort. A few other guys are going to step up. And like we mentioned earlier in the show, a little bit back to their roots a little bit about spreading the ball around to a lot of different receivers. It was the staple of his offense for years.
So collective effort going forward, we all agree with that. So, Jeff, who is Brees' now go-to option number one?
Well, I think it's going to be Alvin Kamara. We saw a little bit of it last week, getting the ball out of the backfield on swing routes, getting the ball obviously on handoffs. He's a dynamic weapon. He looks healthy again. I think he becomes the number one target along with Jared Cook in the receiving corps.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jared Cook as a downfield option just because I think the chemistry between he and Drew Brees is probably a little bit better than, say, where Emmanuel Sanders and Drew Brees are at this time. But nonetheless, I think Sanders gets involved as well. Alvin Kamara, it's an interesting one. Look for him on that kind of option route out of the backfield and then that wheel route out of the backfield. And also this, him and Latavius Murray on the field at the same time. Something to watch for in this matchup.
We heard Sean Payton say after the Bucs game that I got to be a better play caller. Basically, Sean, does he put more pressure on himself to be better at making play calls, the right play calls this week?
Well, I think he wants a bounce back effort. There's no doubt about that. He said it was one of his worst play calling days of his career. From a pressure standpoint of not having Mike Thomas, I don't think that's it. It's just a matter of having the right play call at the right time to deal with the right situation in the game. That's really what play calling is all about. So I don't know if it's pressure. I do think, though, he's too good of a play caller to have another bad day.
And look, Sean Payton responds to these kind of adverse situations. He did it a year ago when they lost Drew Brees. They rolled off 5 straight wins with Teddy Bridgewater. I think he'll look at this, he and the entire offensive staff, as a challenge. And I think they're looking forward to putting together a game plan without Mike Thomas and show that they could still be very successful.
It's amazing we're complaining about 34 points being scored, but it wasn't all about the offense. So the offense wasn't perfect against the Bucs. Do you expect better execution on Monday, Jeff?
Yeah, I do. I think a lot of the problems that they had were just basically timing related. A quarterback like Drew Brees relies so much on synchronization with his receiving core. He didn't have a preseason to get that timing down. I know he had practice, but he missed those preseason games. So I think it affects a guy like him more than most quarterbacks in the league. And I think we'll see each week him get a little bit better.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit better. The execution probably is going to be a little cleaner from play call at a quarterback to the actual field operating the play. I think it's going to be a little bit better. I also think perhaps the Bucs were a much better defense than maybe we thought. And we knew that front seven was going to be great, but their secondary was really good on Sunday, so perhaps this is a better matchup as well. So I do expect a bounce-back effort for the offense.
Let's go to the other side of the ball because defensively the Saints were fantastic, dominated the Bucs. But, Sean, what part of their performance impressed you the most?
About the defense, I got to go with the secondary. I just think when you watch the way they played, how aggressive they were, the plays that they made, the way they covered those receivers, and that translated from training camp to the regular season. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes that's fool's gold, what you see in training camp and preseason. In the regular season, you see something different. Not the case with the Saints secondary. I also thought it was interesting how much they use that dime package of 6 DBs on the field. It goes to show you that they really trust having enough DBs on the field in any given situation. Gardner Johnson played well. Marshawn Lattimore really got inside of Mike Evans' head, and obviously Janoris Jenkins with the big pick 6.
Also tackled very well, and that was a little surprising considering they didn't have any live action during the preseason. That front seven dominated, shut down Tampa Bay's running game again. Done that now for about 3 years. They haven't allowed a 100-yard rusher. They're going to need a similar performance this week with Josh Jacobs.
I was going to ask about that, Jeff. Josh Jacobs coming off a 3-touchdown performance against Carolina. When you look at this Raider offense, does it begin with making them one-dimensional like every week, but stopping him first?
Yeah, it certainly does. He's their main cog on offense, and not only does he key that running game, but he also, his running ability sets up their play-action passing game. Everything starts with shutting down Jacobs because then it's going to have an effect on Derek Carr in that passing game.
And he's a very patient runner. He doesn't mind getting 2 yards here, 3 yards there, 4 yards here, 3 yards there. He's a patient runner. He can run outside, he can run inside. Everything goes through him, at least right now, the way this current Raiders offense is constructed. So shut down Jacobs. Obviously, you have a chance, but it's a strength on strength. Remember, it's been like, 100 years since the Saints allowed a 100-yard rusher. So I think they're in good hands in the run defense.
Are you stressed about Carr?
I think when the Saints played him back in 2016 was one of his best years. He looked really good in that game, but it feels like he's had kind of an uneven career since then. I think he's a guy that can make certain throws at certain times. That touchdown he threw last week was really, really good. But I think he's a guy that you can maybe get in his head a little bit. I do think the Saints like that matchup versus Carr.
Jeff, I would imagine you want to be able to make Carr be the guy that has to beat you as opposed to their running game.
100%. And look, I think they'll get in his head. I think they're going to challenge the Las Vegas receiving core.
Got to get used to it.
I knew it was going to happen. They're going to get after those guys much like they did the Tampa Bay Bucks, play a lot of man, cover on the back end with some shell coverage. But I think they'll also pressure Carr much more than the Carolina Panthers did last week, and that's the key with him because he relies a lot on the timing of the passing game.
Thomas Morstead, the special teams player of the week. Should we expect that kind of special teams effort, Jeff, from this Saints football team every week that we saw against the Bucs? I mean, it's going to be one of their advantages, I believe, all season long.
Well, look, I don't think we're going to see as many big plays, block kicks, the muffed kickoff fumble recovery. We're not going to see that kind of big playmaking, but they're going to dominate, I think, with their special teams. And I think this week especially, Deontay Harris could have a big game. Carolina had some nice returns against them last week.
Yeah, Deontay Harris with the plus yardage in the punt return game. Thomas Morstead putting the ball where it needs to be put on certain punts. I agree with Jeff. You're not always going to have a blocked field goal or a crazy coffin corner kickoff fumble that you recover. And look at Justin Hardy with him covering punts as well. So I just think they're very consistent and very clean in this operation. And I expect that to go throughout the season because that's really a strength of theirs.
In a normal NFL season, this would be a difficult matchup for the Saints because home opener on the opposing team's field, brand new stadium, brand new team, all that hype surrounding it, Monday Night Football. But Sean, this seems like the best case scenario for the black and gold. They're helping a team open a new stadium, and it's going to be empty.
Yeah, sometimes a loud crowd, which obviously is not going to be there in Las Vegas, can disrupt a little bit of the communication and flow of the Saints offense. It's not going to happen. So perhaps that is a good sign for the Saints on the road, that they could perhaps have better communication and obviously be on the same page. And the Raiders are a team, the Saints are better than the Raiders, but they got a lot of young talent. Sometimes young talent, if they kind of figure it out and you don't know when it's going to happen, can be tricky. So just watch the Raiders this week.
Yeah, Jim Haslett, the former Saints coach, used to always tell me it's not about the schedule, it's when you play those teams in the schedule. And I think this game, when you looked at it, could have been a very dicey game going on the road, opening the new stadium, first game in Las Vegas for the Raiders. All those things added up to a lot of hype and hoopla in Las Vegas. That's going to be out the window now. No fans in the stands, so it's certainly going to be a huge benefit to the Saints on Monday night.
Listen, when you're name dropping Jim Haslett, it means it's time to wrap up this segment. That's Jeff Duncan from The Athletic and a contributor here on Fox 8. Jeff, thank you very much. Up next, Chris Hagan does his very best to give you a leg up this weekend with fantasy football action. His extra point is straight ahead. And Saints fans who want to see their team spirit on television can head to the Final Play app, submit a picture, click the menu, scroll down to the Submit Your Saints Picks page, and from there, just follow directions. Tune in throughout the season to see your Who Dat passion on display.
You're watching Game Plan, sponsored by your local Southern Quality Ford dealers and the Ford F-Series, celebrating 43 years of truck leadership.
Derek Carr went to 3 straight Pro Bowls, and then John Gruden arrived for the 2018 season, and Carr's status as a franchise QB has come into question. But perhaps there's more to it than that. In Sunday's game against the Panthers, Carr was pressured on just 10% of his pass plays. He ended with a quarterback rating of 107.5, love that station. Last year, the pressure was doubled, and his QB rating dipped in 2018. Both numbers were even worse. So if Dennis Allen wants to get after his former team, perhaps pressuring Derek Carr will be a key to the game. Perhaps. Week 1 handed out some surprises in the fantasy football world.
You are correct, sir. Chris Hagan watched it all unfold and breaks down the week that was and what to look for in week 2 in this week's Extra Point.
Week 1 is in the books, and before you panic and make any rush decisions with your fantasy rosters, remember, Week 1 is often an outlier. There will be better weeks ahead for guys like Nick Chubb, and no, I don't think you're going to get week after week of double-digit catches from Devontae Adams. Still, there are some trends to pay attention to. Let's start with last Thursday's game. Many were big on players in the Chiefs' offense, but instead of seeing Patrick Mahomes sling it down the field in chunks, Kansas City's attack was more controlled. Travis Kelce did his damage underneath coverage, while Clyde Edwards-Helaire's 25 carries helped them control time of possession. If that trend continues, maybe we don't see the gaudy, high yardage numbers we thought from guys like Tyreek Hill and Mahomes. Big winners from what we saw in Week 1 could be teams with Cardinals standouts Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. In their first game together, they connected 14 times through the air. Along with Murray's ability to run, which was on display as well, he could easily be a top 5 fantasy quarterback this season. Meanwhile, in Green Bay, if you were one of the bargain hunters that got Aaron Rodgers in the 9th or 10th round or maybe even later, congratulations, because that might be the steal of the year. I'm not expecting 4-touchdown games week in and week out, but the narrative of Rodgers' fantasy stock plummeting this year is looking a bit premature. Areas of concern I have, however, are Cleveland and Pittsburgh. Starting with the Browns, they'll have better days and better matchups. But if I were a Nick Chubb owner, I'd be a little worried that Kareem Hunt finished the game with more carries, catches, and yards. If it indeed turns out to be more of a 50-50 split in snaps, selecting Chubb in the first or second round was overpaying by a long shot, and he may not be the running back to carry you that you thought you had. Meanwhile, in Pittsburgh, running back James Conner left the game with a sprained ankle early, picking up where he left off following an injury-plagued season a year ago. However, the rest of the offense, including quarterback and receiver, looks to be just fine as long as Ben Roethlisberger stays healthy. And finally, locally, for those who were fortunate enough to get Alvin Kamara, he's looking like it's 2018 all over again with plenty of explosiveness. Especially with Michael Thomas injured, he could easily be a top running back in fantasy football this season. Reporting for GamePlan, I'm Chris Hagan.
Our coverage certainly doesn't stop here. Lots more football on Fox 8 this week. Friday, we switch to high school football. Fox 8 football Friday, 10:35. Sunday, no Saints. But you'll want to check out that Falcons-Cowboys game because both teams looking for their first win. Later that night, Sean Vazan on the road in Vegas. His reports will begin leading up to Monday's game when we'll have you covered before and after. Tailgate at 6 p.m. Black and Gold review at 10:35. That's a lot.
That's a whole lot of show. Of course, you can always get in touch with us using the Final Word feature on the Final Play app. That'll do it for us tonight. Thank you for watching GamePlan, and thanks to everyone here at Fox 8 for their contributions. Our next newscast is at 4:30 in the morning. Good night, everyone.
Thank you. I'll see you later. I'm out. Bye.
From Fox 8 Sports, this has been GamePlan, sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealers and the Ford F-Series, celebrating 42 years of truck leadership.